issues and has a lifetime experience on that, and a great trade unionist. Also with us is we have Sister Susan Taylor. Susan Taylor speaks for herself. She's a superstar. Anyway, Susan Taylor is somebody that's very active in coordinating and mobilizing retirees to participate in political action and organizing groups of retirees to form together clubs. She's often the spokesperson on TV for retiree issues whenever we need one. Up at Capitol Hill, the Alliance of Retired Americans uses Susan Taylor. Tony Padilla as well is a leader in the Alliance of Retired Americans in Texas and has rebuilt the whole organization. Lastly, but not least, we have Brother Bill Caldwell. Brother Bill has been active politically within the Machinist Union for his whole life. Kansas City, Missouri, and Machinist, whenever you say that, a lot of people there think of Bill Caldwell. And Bill is also very active in the American Red Cross. And Bill, when there are national emergencies and disasters, Bill will often act as the coordinator between American Red Cross and FEMA. He's that respected within the American Red Cross. So these are just representative of many of you out here. So we have a list of questions, and we're going to answer them from our seats and talk about issues. Okay. The first question that I'd like to ask Brother Tony Padilla, because we're seeing baby boomers enter the ranks of seniors. Oh. Good, we have more than one mic now. Because we have so many baby boomers entering our ranks at 10,000 seniors a day coming into our ranks, there are a lot of crises that are presented within Social Security and Medicare. A lot of people believe, because of that Social Security is growing rogue. Others believe that it is not. I'm going to ask Tony to explain to us why there is that misunderstanding. Brother Tony, would you explain that to us?
Sure, Charlie. Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to let everybody know that Social Security is not going broke. Representatives in Congress always invent crisis for Social Security. They want to reform, and to them, reform means privatize or get rid of it completely. So we always have to be alert and watch that they do not do anything that they should not be doing against seniors. They tend to go after seniors every congressional cycle in Congress, and they try to pass legislation. The Paul Ryans of the world, who is now the Speaker of the House of Representatives, is the greatest enemy against seniors. He has proposed to privatize Social Security. He has proposed to up the age for qualifying for Social Security. All those are things that we do not need to be doing. Seniors, people are working. They want to work people to death. In essence, that's why they want to raise the age. Social Security, Charlie and ladies and gentlemen, has a $2.8 trillion in the trust fund. So surely we're not going broke. Social Security can pay funds for 20 years in the future and give us enough time to make any constructive reforms that will secure Social Security payments for 20 years. Congress wants to use Social Security funds to pay the national debt. Seniors do not cause the national debt. It's the congressional members that take that money and use it for balancing the budget and borrowing that money that we never see. So be aware that this is a program, the Social Security is a program that was implemented in the 1930s when seniors really needed to be helped during the Depression. And it is the longest safety security for seniors in our country. And for 80 years, since Social Security was implemented and came into law, they've tried to undo the law. So they've been trying to send your Social Security to the Wall Street so they can run your money. Should that have happened during the Bush administration when they tried to send your Social Security to Wall Street, we'd have lost on the 9/11 year, if you remember the crisis. So we're not in any way losing, or we're not in any way broke. Now, how do we fix Social Security for the future? Scrap the cap is the most logical way to do it, and for some reason they do not listen. The machinists have advocated this for a decade, in trying to scrap the cap, and we've been unable to get the Congress to accept. Now, having said that, the majority in Congress are the ones that are keeping us from doing reforming and improving Social Security. But let me tell you that if you take a poll, and there is a poll that was taken on Social Security, and 61% of the Republicans support improving Social Security. So they're not following their own leaders. 95% of the public supports Social Security. So the majority of the Democrats and the majority of the public at large support Social Security. So we need to keep on making sure that we keep Social Security safe. How do we do that? And you've been doing it already. I have to say, I have to thank a lot of the people, all the people that are here for what you've done in the past. When we call you to action, we do it. I'm secretary of the Alliance for Retired Americans for Texas, and we stay active. Earlier, it was mentioned that we did a march in San Antonio against Congressman Joaquin Castro. That's where I'm from. Joaquin Castro, and we did a march in protest of his anticipated vote. Well, he got back to us and he was very embarrassed because of what seniors did in his district. So that was a good message that he sent us, because we did it again. We went back and invited the media both in Spanish and English, and I had a press release in Spanish and English telling Congressman Castro what he would do to seniors. The Alliance for Retired Americans, the Machinists Union, we did that and we changed his mind. So we're very proud to continue this.
And Tony, I think the amount of money going into Social Security, it is true, 2008 to 2011, there was more money being paid out to Social Security than money going in. But we know the reason for that was because of the downturn in the economy and the mass unemployment we have. Obviously, more people employed, we have more money going into Social Security. For example, in 2012, we had $32.5 billion excess. More money going in than money going out in 2012. So if we can repeat this year in and year out, as long as we have full employment. And that's the important part of that, the relationship between a good economy and Social Security. Social Security is something that's just recently happened. In 2016, this past year, Congress has determined there will be no cost of living adjustment made to Social Security. It's the first time in a long time that has happened.
42 years.
What implication does this have to seniors?
I'd like to say good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This has had a great impact, I think, on seniors for next year. I don't know if you realize it or not, but 9 out of every 10 Americans over 65 currently receive Social Security. They're not like the people here in this room who have the benefit of a great union pension that's been negotiated. A lot of these people, that's all that they have. They don't have savings, they don't have pension, they're relying on Social Security. So if you don't get a cost of living increase, that doesn't mean that your money that you need will go up for medical expenses, or medical pharmacy expenses, and also just your regular average utilities. Fortunately, gas has gone down, so that can give you a little bit of a break there. We need to look at what Senator Warren has done, and we need to contact our congresspersons and tell them that, yes, we support this one-time 3.9% Social Security bailout. That means that approximately $580 per person for next year, for 2016. She believes that it'll be about $40 billion, but it's not going to cost the government any money because she's going to pay for it by tax, or actually getting rid of the tax loophole used by corporate executives to pay down one of their tax benefits. So that would be a great thing. For the longer term, one of the things that we need to also talk to our congresspersons about is the CPIE for elderly. We are currently basing the COLAs on things that we as seniors don't use. So when they measure these things like the cost of gas, or perhaps rent going up, that doesn't necessarily apply to us because we own our own homes. We don't drive as much. But the things that we spend our money on are medical expenses and things like that. So the cost, the CPIE would be a great way to increase the cost of living, and we don't have to worry again about not having a COLA adjustment in the years to come.
Yeah, that's very true, Susan. The Consumer Price Index identified E for elder is a market basket of those things that we buy and that younger families do not buy. So that's an important process. There is a follow-up to this question, Susan. The increased numbers of retirees coming into the marketplace and the denial of a cost of living increase next year causes a strain on families. As we know, seniors, a lot of seniors are actually supporting their children and grandchildren. So what impact does this have on families, not raising the cost of living increase for next year?
Well, it's going to affect the bottom line with the budget. Children are not going to be able to get things that they may necessarily need. And unfortunately, it comes to the point sometimes where they won't even be able to get food. They may not have the money to be able to afford to go and get lunch. Or they may not visit the doctors often. This is going to create problems for them. There are very serious consequences. You have dental, things that are going to affect kids for the rest of their life. They may not be able to get the necessary shots for going to school, and in some instances, this can create problems for them not to be able to go to school. So there are a variety of things that are going to happen when you don't have the cost of living. Families need the additional funds.
Yeah, and I think we all ought to remember, before Social Security was enacted, 4 out of every 5 seniors lived at the poverty level or below. Now it's totally the other way around. Ever since Social Security has been enacted, only 1 out of 5 seniors lives at the poverty level. So it's just a human decency for our society to maintain Social Security and to increase it. And that's something we're working on. So it turns into a political question, which I'm going to ask Brother Bill. Brother Bill, the largest group of voters in recent years, as Brother Ricky De La Fuente pointed out, has been a group that is 65 and older. Consistent voters over and over. In recent years, however, their voting has turned conservative. Okay? So, Bill, can you explain why seniors are voting against their own interests?
Well, Charlie, it's an interesting question, and good morning, everybody. And we have mulled this over both in the labor councils and the state council machinists and at the national level and in the Democratic Party as well. A lot of people, when they get older, they do become more conservative. But one of the problems we have with a lot of people, and I come out of the airlines, as a lot of you know that, and with company mergers and changing of bargaining units, we've lost touch with a lot of these people. Now, many of you, and myself included, have been relief staff over the years, over the decades, and it's always a multi-pronged attack when we go after people to educate them. And one of the ways is to workplace leafleting. Well, these people are not in the workplace anymore. And they've moved. We're a mobile generation now. People don't have landlines. They have cell phones. We've lost touch of where they are. They've changed, like I said, bargaining units. We don't keep accurate records of them. I've spoken to Robert Roach about that today. President of the Missouri Alliance is also here today. Dave Minell, we're well aware of that. We don't touch these people because we don't know where they are. We can't workplace leaflet them. One of the strategies over the years has been you workplace leaflet these people. You then follow up with door-to-door visits with release staff. The locals phone bank them. But they technically don't belong to a union now because they've divorced themselves. They've moved. They don't keep in touch. Well, we have to go after them, and hopefully with energetic leadership with Robert and Dave over here. I happen to be one of the many vice presidents of the Missouri Alliance, but we need to go after those people, and we need to educate those people. And the Working Families Toolkit is a very good usage of that, and the Alliance of Retired Americans, we use that as well. And we need to go to all these clubs, and we need to work every union. We need to include them all and educate these people and keep these issues in front of them for senior union people. Now, the other side of that coin is, and give the devils their due, the hot button single issues, the Republican Party, the anti-union people, they're very adept at using these single issues, and they beat them in. They tie their candidates in. They do a very good job from state to state. I mean, we compare races, state rep races, congressional races. They use the same strategies, but they just move them additional miles so that they don't seem to be over and over in the same area, but they've got about a dozen different campaigns that they use all over the country, and they just kind of spread them around, and they've got these single issues, and they continually harp on. We need to harp on our issues. We need to use the working family toolkit. We need to have our people mobilized, and we need to keep better contact and better control of where we flow our information to.
Very good, Bill. I was going to give you a follow-up question of how do we educate, but you answered that, so that's great. Susan wanted to add something to this, too.
Question out here from one of my former local lodge brothers. Hi, Mario.
Local Lodge 561. The bill, if I understood correctly, now the politicians are allowed to send messages on the cell phones. Have you checked into that?
Yes, we did, and as a matter of fact, I just got one from my really good friend Ben Carson the other day. And that definitely is a joke.
We get so many on the landline. We still have landline also. We get so many that for me, I just turn it off.
Well, that's why we have answering machines for the landlines. I do filter through mine, and my wife and I argue about that once in a while. I said, we've got an answering machine. We'll find out who called us, and then we'll call them back on our cell phones.
That's what I have your message many times, recorded. Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Yes, sir, in the back.
Repeat the question, Paul.
When you make a bill for suggestion, that still go through the parent. You do that question, then if there's any questions afterwards.
Okay, so, thank you, Diane.
It did stop.
Right. What Diane is saying is if you guys don't mind, keep your questions, we'll hold them at the end, because we may be answering some of your questions throughout the rest of the discussion, but we'll certainly leave time to entertain questions at the end. Thank you, Diane. So, Susan, you wanted to add on to what Bill was saying.
I just wanted to quickly say that, how many of you are in your retiree organizations back in your hometowns? That's great. That is another way, and Bill was talking about education. You have a great resource there because you've got the backing of the Government Affairs Department. You can get information there to be able to disseminate it out to other people. The one thing that I truly believe is that knowledge is power. And the more ways that you have to get the knowledge, the more you're going to help change attitude. Well, I won't say change attitudes because you really can't change attitudes. But you're going to give people another thing to think about. And I know working with Metro Seniors in the Washington area, I get a lot of information that I can go back and I share with my church, I share with my aerobics club, I also share with my, I said, well, but it's water aerobics. I share with the water aerobics club there. And that's another thing that I encourage you to do. Become active with your retiree organizations back in your home state.
That's got to be interesting to see political education done to an aerobic theme. All right, I love that. That's great. Yes.
And one other thing. I thought these glasses would break today, but they really did. Get involved in the political system. Now, I know everybody here has been a unionette to this. They've been stewards. We've all been stewards. We've all been committee people over our careers, held different offices or whatever. But pick a party that you're familiar with, that you're comfortable with. And yes, I'm a very proud Union Democrat. And years ago, I was advised by a gentleman who later became the governor and the senator for the state of Missouri. And when I asked him how I should become more active politically, and he said, find out who your county committee is. Your township, your precinct, your ward, whatever. And I did. And I stayed, and I've been on that committee now for over 30 years, and on the state committee for 20 years. But get involved in the party. Now, I know Ricky D was my ticket. I saw him come back in there a minute ago. We just had a fight in Missouri over right to work. And we had 18 Republicans that voted with us on right to work. Now, I lobby in Jefferson City a lot, do some in Washington, and they know I'm a Democrat, they know I'm a Union Democrat. But they voted with us, and we held off right to work because we had 18 Republicans. Now, if you want to be in the Republican Party, I don't have a problem with that, as long as your representatives vote on the union side. Carmine brought it up earlier on social issues. We're not all going to agree on social issues, but we need to agree on union issues. And if we can keep that evil, the right to work out, and have people on the Republican Party, I would applaud any member in here if they got on the Republican committee in their county, or wherever, and kept the Republican Party on a very good footing for right to work, would be an asset. We support, we give money. I cut checks for people, Republicans in our area, that vote with us on union issues. They don't agree with me on social issues, but they do agree with us on union issues. And I represent, I'm a legislative representative for District 142 as well, and that's my primary concern, is union issues when I go down there. Now, if I go down as an individual, it might be social issues, and you can't confuse that sometimes. So, if you want to get involved in the system, join your committee, get on your committee in your local area.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, I know Brother Tony Padilla has been very active in building a retiree organization and making it politically active in a very tough place in Texas. And Tony, one of the things you do is you don't limit it just to machinist members or to other union members. You kind of take in everybody as much as possible. Can you explain your thinking on that?
Yes, unions by themselves, our own membership, are not going to do it all by ourselves. We need to involve a lot the public. We need to invite our families, our community. And thanks to the Alliance for Retired Americans who involve the communities to also serve, people from the community to serve, we're able to reach out. And we involve seniors from all areas of the community. They're non-union, and they do help us. We work with also with the railroad retirees. I represent 67,000 railroad retirees in the rail industry. And let me tell you how I got there was because the machinists sent me to represent them there. And I got drafted to be a vice president, which I was very honored to have done. But I involve everybody in the railroad, in the NARM, and the retirees. We involve also social members that want to join. So we were very successful in reaching out. And again, you know, when we do with the Alliance for Retired Americans, we invite many other organizations in the community, including LACLA, for example, and outside the union as well. So yes, it is very essential that we involve the community at large.
Thank you, Tony. I'm going to ask a question to any of you here that want to respond to it. Recently, our union fought a tough fight against those people in Congress that enacted legislation to allow multi-employer pension plan trustees to reduce existing pension plans. Now, that's only for multi-employer trustees, pension plans. Why is this so dangerous to all seniors?
Well, Charlie, I think it's so inconceivable to think that there were pensions that are for people that are already receiving it. It's a crime. To me, it's a crime that they do that. We need to change that. We need to change that. The only way we're going to change that is that we get more of our friends in the Congress, in the Senate, and of course in the White House. And we're on the road to making that happen. It's going to take a lot of work, but I can't conceive that I would be, if I were in one of those pension plans, that I was going to get 20%, from my pension. My God, it is a real crime, and we need to work and fight against that kind of legislation for the future.
What concerns me about it is the fact that it's a foot in the door. It might be your pension, it might be that pension today, but it might be your pension tomorrow. And we have to look at that very closely. We have to stay on guard. Things are at the point now where if we don't, we're not going to have these things for our children. And that's the important part. Most people think that we're looking for us and that's it, but that's not the case. We are fighting for our children, our children's children. This is the legacy that you are going to leave your children. So you have got to realize that if you don't take care of it now, it's not going to be there for them in the future.
Yeah, and I think we saw that in this particular fight, we've had to form alliances with other like-minded organizations to help us fight these legislations. What are good examples of like-minded organizations that we need to link arms with to fight any legislation attacking seniors and working families?
Well, obviously, the first one that comes to mind is the AARP, and I would like to echo on Susan there. Cutting pensions is a terrible precedent. We never want to see that happen. We don't put in the door, and it's more of a kick in the backside. And recently, a personal friend, good colleague, retired machinist. He was a ground equipment mechanic, UPS. But for some strange quirk of fate, his pension comes out of the Teamsters, which is a woefully mismanaged fund. I'm sorry, that's the facts. And he's faced with a cut. And he was a machinist. But for some, I don't know how or why, and I won't get into that. But one of the groups obviously that comes to mind is the AARP. Now, I will tell you that I do belong to the Missouri Alliance, or Alliance of Retired Americans, and this union fosters that tie. Thank you, Tom. But George Corky is one of the founders and one of the people who started the Alliance of Retired Americans. I continue on with that in the Missouri chapter, Missouri branch. But I recently attended the White House Conference on Aging, and in the breakout session, I was at the same table as the incoming president of the AARP. It was astonishing to find out that their views were not exactly like ours in the audience. Particularly on Scrap the Cat. One of the brothers over here said something about Scrap the Cat. I wanted to have that language put into the forum after the breakout session, and it was voted on and agreed, but yet they gave the microphone to the gentleman who's going to be the next president of the AARP and let him speak on our breakout session. But they did make one fatal mistake. They did allow me to get to the podium. And soon enough, Scrap the Cat was on the floor. But they don't always agree with us on a lot of issues, Charlie. Particularly, we're union people. And a lot of people in the AARP don't come in with unions. Now, they obviously do have people that have belonged to unions, but they're not diehard union people like we are. They're country club people. And the only time I play in a country club is when somebody really needs a good golfer. That's about the only time they ask me. But, there you go, Carver.
Yeah. Go ahead. Tony would like to add to
Yeah, I'd just like to say, say it from the bottom of my heart that the AARP is a great organization and it does a lot of good things for seniors. But we always have to keep an eye on them because they are a marketing organization. Even the President of the United States had to intervene with what they do to get seniors to invest. They were given them investors that really paid them for the cleaners. And he had to do some executive order of some kind that got the Labor Department to suggest to the AARP to stop doing that. And there were conferences, but in essence, they do a lot of good in other areas. So, you know, I just wanted to say that so that you be aware of it. When I went to a demonstration against ALEC in Dallas, Texas, in their agenda, they were members of the ALEC, and it aggravated me. It made me mad because here we are trying to work with them, and they're part of the problem. And I brought it up. Now I brought it up to the Alliance for Retired Americans as well, and we chose not to do anything for the same reason that they do some bad things, and it is a marketing organization. We didn't do anything else about it. We do work with them. In my community in Texas, I work with the AARP, but they will not join you on demonstrations or whenever there's a political event going on that covers seniors or Social Security or Medicare. They will not join you for that reason. They don't want to be tagged, going the other way when they're already taking care of their own.
Yeah, let me just acknowledge too that our political effort within the Alliance for Retired Americans has got a big boost in the arm by having the new president, Robert Roach, in the back of the room. So, the Alliance for Retired Americans is, again, going to be going in the right directions in the future under his leadership. So, we've got a lot to do, but one other important question is mobilizing retirees to get active. And we've done it in different ways. What advice would you give everybody else out here about how to get retirees active in political agendas and political activities? I know Susan and Tony and Bill have had a history of walking door to door, making phone banks, speaking to groups for the labor movement and for retiree issues. How would we get other people to do the same kinds of things?
Well, I'll start out on that. The first thing you can do is work your neighborhood. I've been making them in my little area. I keep a copy of the van list over the years, voter active file. And new people move in, I check them out. And, work my precinct. My wife is the female rep in that Jackson Township of Buchanan County. And county chair is the same way. You keep that in your mind. You keep your files. You add to them. Some of us are accessing the labor, the land list, and you just have to work your little precinct, work your own little world, and you expand it as you can. And as Charlie said, and Tony and Susan have spoken. You go to retiree clubs, visit with good friend Denny over there with the Texas bunch, and we communicate and we share ideas. And, it's a network, and you need to network with other people, and you need to explain to them why these issues are important, not just to union people, but to all seniors and all retirees. And you need to emphasize that a cut for me is going to be a cut for you. Anyway, I'll pass this on.
I would encourage people to find your own niche. Some people are not comfortable with knocking on doors to vote, or drive your neighbor to get registered to vote, or just talking with your children about the need and the necessity to vote. And also, I would, talk about the other things that occurs when you don't vote, like the responsibility of the Supreme Court justices that are coming up in the next election. That's going to be very important because that's going to affect them for the rest of their lives. So there are a lot of different things that you can do. Do the things that you feel comfortable, but do.
Tony, anything to add?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that we need to get our locals involved. And just seeing the many people that raise your hands here that belong to a club, an IAM retiree club, I was very proud to see so many that are engaged in doing that. If you're a member of those clubs, you know your duties. You do have to get involved in making sure that we elect the right people to the Congress, that we do voter registration, that we get them to do GOTVs, get out the vote when the time comes. And like the others mentioned, do walk-ins door to door and help do that. We got to get our locals to support us in increasing those clubs. I was able to in Texas to organize the first state club there in Texas, and it's doing very well. So with the help of our General Vice President Bob Martinez, we were able to do a lot of work there in Texas. But let me tell you, all of you are doing well. So reach out to your local clubs, and let's get the right people involved in the political and the legislative era.
Yeah, and let me just add, obviously it's nice when we can get one more person involved, but if you're with a club, if you can get your whole retirees club to own a night at a phone bank or own a whole neighborhood, and you would tackle it as a mass, much greater effort. So we should be trying to do those things because it's for our own sakes and our children and their children's sakes. I just want to kind of move things along. One of the issues that we've been working on is we have retirees being involved in organizing drives. Talking to Brother Gray yesterday, being involved in organizing drives down in South Carolina on the Boeing campaign. Other retirees up in Tennessee organizing new workplaces. And I know from time to time we have retirees that join in organizing drives. There again, please visit your local lodge and volunteer your services to your business reps. Sometimes we know the neighborhood better than anybody else coming in from the outside. And even if we just